The Sherando Warriors come out on top in huge fashion, 49-20, the final here at James Wood High School. What really stood out, the Sherando Warriors' stout offensive line giving opportunities. Jaylen Tasco-Murray, 4 rushing touchdowns in this contest. Sherando's quarterback, Jacob Henry, doing what he does best in the air and on the ground. He made some good plays as well. Sherando defensively was able to pressure James Wood. Not to say that James Wood didn't have a bad night, but quarterback Owen Neal for the Colonels was flushed out of the pocket numerous times, but he did have some good playmaking opportunities that he converted on. But the Sherando Warriors, it seemed to be a game where the Warriors overpowered the James Wood Colonels in this Northwestern District matchup. Coming up, the post-game show, you'll hear from Jaylen Tasco-Murray, the head coach of the Sherando Warriors, TJ Rohrbaugh, along with quarterback Jacob Henry, and the head coach of the James Wood Colonels, Todd Wilson, as we continue on the Kirby on Sports post-game show. The Sherando Warriors over the James Wood Colonels, 49-20 from James Wood High School. Coach Todd Wilson joining me. Certainly appreciate some time post-game, sir. Can you just take us through in your mind what you saw of this game? Close to start, then Sherando sort of pulling away. Well, what did you see in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. There was a lot to take in this game. We didn't prepare very well this week. I put that blame on me. It starts with me as far as preparation. I just didn't think we didn't work as hard as what we normally do. So that's where it starts. It starts on Sundays when we send out a scouting report. And then Mondays when we come on the field to set rec, and guys are supposed to know certain things, and we weren't ready to go on Monday. And it just kind of trickled into the whole week. And then as far as the game's concerned, like we got to do better up front. I mean, everybody will tell you, it's won in the trenches. We got pretty, handed it up front pretty easily. They did what they wanted to do, running the ball. Defensively, settled in a little bit better in the second half. We did some better things in the second half, but then our offense wasn't clicking in the second half. So there was a lot to take in.
I mean, you mentioned the offensive line with Owen on sort of some rollouts there, but still it looked like he stayed pretty composed, and you mentioned all the confidence you have in Owen, and he's still going out making good plays. Can you just talk about his performance tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he's a leader for our football team. He probably prepares and takes care of himself, and a student of the game, probably one of the best that I've ever been around. He's passionate about the sports. He wants to go to the next level to play. He's preparing like it. He plays like it. I can't say enough good things about Owen Neal. I'm glad he's a Colonel. I'm glad he's on our team.
And Caden, he had a big kick return there. I think later in the game it was, but some sparks on different aspects of the game. Those sparks provided energy. Can you talk about that kick return there?
Yeah, I mean, he just made a play. I mean, Caden McCullough. We've seen him do that before, so that wasn't surprising. But yeah, we had some explosive plays tonight. I mean, we'll go back and look offensively, and we had some good explosive plays. A couple of them were called back. A couple of explosive plays there in the first half were called back, but we were making plays down the field offensively, which I thought we would be able to do. Yeah.
And defensively, too, I know Sherando was running the ball. What was there something you saw as Sherando that just was hard for your team to defend, or did they switch something up? What did you see?
No, they didn't switch anything up. It's what they do on film. It wasn't any secret. We were just getting outmanned. We got 2 young linebackers in there who were, doing the best job that they could do, but when they got, guys, defensive linemen get pushed back in their lap, there's only so much they can do. When the second level guy gets reached, it's hard to scrape over and fill lanes. So there's a lot to fix. So it wasn't really anything that they did different. They just lined up and ran the ball at us, and we didn't do a good job of tackling.
And I'm hoping you can fill me in here because it looked like in the second half you went like more pass happy. Can you explain like the reasoning, what you saw to give Owen more opportunities to throw the ball to some skill guys out there?
Yeah, I mean, we were behind. Like we wanted to get the ball going down, push the ball down the field. I mean, it worked at times. Like we had some explosive plays. He missed a couple plays. He made a couple plays. So I mean, that's the game of football. I mean, you're not going to be 100% all the time. So we took our shots where we thought we could, and I I mean, it wasn't anything offensively that, looking back, that we really thought we couldn't run the ball. I mean, I thought we could run the ball. I mean, we were running the ball on them. It's just we spreaded things out and was just trying to make explosive plays.
And your skill guys too. I know some pretty good catches in the slot, maybe middle of the field. Not too many deep balls from what I saw. Can you touch on your skill guys and what they were able to do despite the loss?
Yeah, I mean, just the way their defense is set up is, I mean, we can run certain concepts against it, and outside, vertical routes. I mean, they do a good job covering those. So we were running some crosser stuff, things like that, just getting guys open in the middle. But guys were making plays. Like I said, we missed a couple shots here and there. But yeah, I mean, I was pleased with the way we were playing.
And first loss of the season, early in the season, but I know how tough and how hungry your team is. And you mentioned a week or two back, they're not satisfied. What is sort of, and this might be too early to ask, but what is sort of the learning experience you want them to take away from this game in order to generate even more success in the weeks to come?
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. I mean, we're still playing with a lot of young guys. I mean, we have a few seniors out there, but it's not a ton of them. I mean, most of our guys out there are sophomores and juniors. So, this is definitely a learning experience for them. And hopefully the biggest thing is just figure out, if you want to be top tier programs like Sherando is, you have to be 100% invested from the beginning of the week. That has to consume you, and it should drive you to want to be better. So that's what we're looking at, trying to get the guys to realize that, we can kind of, play with some teams, but if you really want to beat the top tier teams in this area and in our district, and then make some playoff runs later on, you really have to be fully invested in getting better every single day. And we just didn't do that this past week.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking, I knew there were a couple penalties going your way in terms of just the flow and the disruption. Do you think that set the offense back in a way, or defensively back in a way with those by chance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It might have been you I was talking to about the whole, penalty situation stuff. It is definitely frustrating. It was frustrating last year down there. Things went the wrong way for us down there last year, and then here tonight. The game. I mean, it's in critical points of the game. We felt that we had a pass interference that wasn't called on a critical fourth down. Turned right around. Their kid pushes off clearly. Everybody saw it. Fans saw it. Everybody saw it, but the official, who was standing right there watching it. That's frustrating. And these are big plays. Pulled it up on the fumble. The kid fumbled on the 2-yard line. They called it a touchdown. It's great to have Huddle on the sideline, because a couple plays later, you can go back and pull those things up and see them. So yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, I have no problems with voicing my frustration. I voiced it tonight. I understand these guys, doing the best job that they possibly could do. But when it's high intensity games like this, rivalry games, and things change the course of the game. I mean, they do. I mean, big penalties change the course of the games when it's fourth down stops or fumbles on the goal line. I mean, those swing momentums in the game, whether they go for you or against you. I'm not making complaints. I mean, the officials didn't lose us that game. We lost that game because we didn't prepare well and we didn't play well. But officiating, and like I said, it interrupts the experience of the fans as well. Okay, I mean, fans don't want to come here and watch a flag fest, or see penalties being thrown and in the next play not being thrown for the exact same thing. So it's frustrating. I've voiced my frustration to a lot of different people. So whether we go with a different officiating crew at some point, we might have to look into doing that.
Certainly appreciate the time with the head coach of the James Wood Colonels, Todd Wilson, after falling to Sherando. Coach, certainly appreciate it. We'll catch you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
Jaylen Tasco-Murray, a huge 49-20 victory over James Wood. You got in the end zone quite a few times. What stood out to you about your performance in the offensive line as well?
Honestly, it was the blocks for me. The blockers do it all, to be honest. I mean, I can break a tackle, but the blockers are there for me, and they do it all for me, I would say.
What stood out to you? I know last week, 14-0, more physical game against Jefferson, putting up a ton of points this week against James Wood. What was sort of the difference in this game compared to last week?
I would probably say Jefferson game, we didn't respond like we should have. We came out in the second half and we executed, but the first half was a little rough. And this game, honestly, it was just since the defense, they were putting up a few points, we just had to come out on offense and execute.
And just a game like this, a crosstown rival in James Wood for the Northwestern District and Northwestern District rivalry, obviously. How huge is it that just the team collectively came out and had a strong performance like they did tonight?
It feels great. I always got to support my teammates. The teammates, they do it all for me, man. Without them, I couldn't do it.
And just a win like this moving forward, I know that that's going to be huge for you, confidence just moving into next week. I know you all focus on yourselves and what you all can control, but how huge is that with a big win like that?
Man, we got to come out next week and execute practice. The whole week of practice has to be good. We have to be locked in, ready to go for Friday next week.
Jaylen, really appreciate your time and congratulations on the win.
Thank you so much.
Jacob Henry now joining me, the starting quarterback, as the Warriors win 49-20. How'd that feel? I know last week 14-0 over Jefferson, more intense of a football game, but putting up a lot of points against a crosstown rival. How'd it feel going out there and putting up the performance you did?
It felt good, and it was a good way to bounce back last week because I struggled a little bit with turnovers. So this week got my confidence up and felt real good getting some points on the board.
Offensive line, what stood out there? Because I know there were some explosive plays. Jaylen Tasco-Murray, just to name one of them, getting in the end zone quite a few times.
The O-line, they just push everybody all the way downfield, and we just follow behind them. And when we get in the red zone and the ball's going to Jaylen, I know he's getting it.
Some red zone packages, Noah Taylor in there too, sort of giving you a break. How do you like that mixture, getting Noah in there, because he had 2 touchdowns as well tonight?
It's just a relief because all these run plays, all these hits I'm taking, they stack up. So being able to come off the field and Noah goes in, and he's big, he's strong, I know he's getting in the end zone.
And just a win like this, I know you all like to focus on what you can control during the weekend in practice, but a big win like this, how huge is that in terms of preparing for the next week ahead?
It's good. It gets the guys juiced up. We got homecoming next week, so everybody should be juiced up, and after a win, we should be ready to work this week.
There you have it, Jacob Henry, after the big win against James Wood. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now joining me, the head coach of the Sherando Warriors, a big Northwestern District victory over James Wood. Coach, how did it feel going out there, putting up as many points as you did against a crosstown rival in James Wood?
I was just glad to see that we found some success on the offensive side of the ball. The big thing is we haven't been finishing in the red zone, and, we found ways to put the ball in the end zone tonight and finish in the red zone, which was a point of emphasis for us all week in practice. So I was glad to see we were able to come out and do a much better job of finishing drives tonight.
And just the versatility, starting with your offensive line, actually creating those holes for Jaylen Tasco-Murray, who found the end zone numerous times. What can you say about the offensive line and the versatility of Jaylen to find the end zone numerous times tonight?
Well, we got a lot of new starters up front. We got a lot of young kids starting on the offensive line for us. It's been a process getting those guys to gel together, but I'll tell you, they've been coming together. I think they've been pretty sound in terms of executing the scheme. It always helps when you have Jarrett C. out there at center making our calls and getting us in the right scheme up front and getting the right guys pulling and the right guys doing things. I'm just happy with their progress, and with those guys being young, hopefully we can just keep getting better week in and week out up front.
And I know just defensively, James Wood did have some connections, targets. Their quarterback did moving the ball down the field, and obviously those 2 penalties, I would imagine you didn't like to see that pushing them into the red zone. But what can you say about your defense holding this James Wood team to only 20 points, knowing what they did the previous 3 weeks, holding opponents to like 15 points in total?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is you got to take your hat off to the quarterback for James Wood, number 5, man. He's a heck of a player. He's quite a competitor. Man, he's tough and a really, really good football player. I thought we had some breakdowns defensively that led to some big plays for them. Obviously, penalties has been a focus for us because we've had a lot through 4 games. So we need to clean that up. We can't give teams free yards. But James Wood's a very good football team. They got an explosive offense. They got a great quarterback and a lot of playmakers. And, I thought our guys did a good job. We had our backs up against the wall defensively a couple times, and we answered the call and were able to get stops.
And just a game like this, I know you preach on focusing to yourselves and you can control what you can control. But a big win like this, how huge is that going into the week of practice, knowing you can control what you can control, and you controlled the game out there pretty well with a lot of points scored?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like I don't really look at wins and losses. We cut the film on Saturday morning, and we evaluate ourselves based off of how we execute on a play in and play out basis. So we'll get together. We'll feel good about winning the game tonight, but we'll get together tomorrow morning. We'll watch the film. We'll take notes. We'll see where we need to get better, and we'll get back to work on Monday, and this will all be behind us.
And I forgot to mention defensively putting pressure to James Wood's quarterback. With he has had success the past couple of weeks, but what do you say about your defense in the aspect their quarterback was rolling out numerous times throughout the game?
Yeah, I mean, we lost contain a couple times early, but I thought we did a much better job of containing the quarterback as the game went on. We were able to get pressure with our 4 down, which is always, big. Anytime that you don't have to send extra guys and you can get pressure with the 4 down was big. And I thought our defensive line did a great job tonight. And, he got outside the pocket a little bit early, was able to make plays. But then, we started executing our assignments and doing a good job.
There you have it, the head coach of the Sherando Warriors, TJ Rohrbaugh. Huge win over James Wood tonight in the Northwestern District. Certainly appreciate the time as always, Coach.
Thank you, Kirby. I appreciate it.